And as usual, we are all gathered here today to listen to another disposition of the Lord Buddha's teaching. Once again, we have come together to make use of this extremely fortunate opportunity to listen to the teaching, to understand it, to comprehend it, to attain our liberation, our salvation. Let us all take a moment first, though, to remind ourselves that we are today in receipt of this pristine teaching of the Buddha. The only teaching there is to redeem ourselves from suffering. Because of the Perfect One, the Omniscient One, the Magnificent One, the most unique One, the Unvanquished One, the infinitely compassionate One. Reminding ourselves that we are forever long His disciples. Let us take the pledge of allegiance as His students by reciting the stanzas of the Upali Householder Sutta, the Dhirasa Vikata Mohasa stanzas. And today I have made the third of these stanzas available to you. They will appear on screen in a moment. So let us commence today's sermon by reciting them, followed by which we will take refuge in the Noble Triple Gem, observe the precepts, invite the Devas, and continue with today's activities. So let us all be upstanding as we take this moment to reflect on the infinite virtues of the Perfect One and remind ourselves of how extremely fortunate we are to be His lifelong disciples. Dhirassa vigata mohassa abhinna khilassa vijita vijayassa anighassa susamachitassa buddha silassa sadhupanyassa Vesantarassa vimalassa bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi akatankatissa tusitassa vantalokamisassa muditassa Kata samanassa manujassa antima sarirassa narassa anopamassa virajassa bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi asansayassa kulassa venaikassa sarati varassa anuttarassa ruchira dhammassa nikhankassa pabhasakarassa manachidassa virassa Bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi asansayassa kulassa venaikassa sarati varassa anuttarassa ruchira dhammassa nikhankassa pabhasakarassa manachidassa virassa bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Please repeat all together and after me. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi Dutiyampi sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi Tatiyampi sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi Saranāgamanaṃ sampunnaṃ Pānātipātā veramani sikkhapadang samādhiyāmi Adinādāna veramani sikkhapadang samādhiyāmi Kāmesu micchāchārā veramani sikkhapadang samādhiyāmi Musāvādā veramani sikkhapadang samādhiyāmi Surāmeraya majjapamā daṭṭhānā veramani sikkhapadang samādhiyāmi Tisaranena saddhiṃ pañcasīlaṃ dhammaṃ sādhukaṃ surakkhitāṃ kattvā appamādena sampādeta. Okay, you may all now be seated. Also, before we commence today's sermon, let us take a moment to remind ourselves that one of the main reasons that we are here, where we are, is because of the kindness, generosity, charity support and assistance of countless beings that we came past in samsara. Those who were with us, those who helped us along the way, those who guided us. Among them will be those who are divine beings. Among them will be those who are human. Among them will be those who are in the preta worlds, and perhaps those for whom the only offering we can make today is the opportunity to witness a meritorious deed, in the hope that they are able to acquire merits, and in the hope that one day such merits may help them to redeem themselves from woeful states and be born in the blissful plane. Regardless of their situation, it is our duty and our obligation to extend this opportunity to all of them, wherever they may be in these 10,000 world systems. For as long as they are within earshot of this teaching, of this sermon, let us make this invitation out to all of them. So as I now make the invitation out to all the devas, brahmas, spirits, demons, those who have predeceased us, I ask you all to extend that invitation with compassion, as well as a duty of obligation, kindness, generosity, to all of them. Invite them to join us, invite them to witness this meritorious deed, wishing the best for them, wishing that they are able to witness this meritorious deed such that they are able to acquire merits, and if any of them are born in woeful planes, to redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane. And may for all beings who are already in the blissful plane, may they all make use of this opportunity to listen to the teaching of the Buddha, to understand, comprehend, and to achieve their liberation. Samanta Chakravalesu Atra Gachantu Devata Saddhammang Munirajassa Sunantu Sagga Mokkadang Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta. And also, before we commence, let us all take a moment to remind ourselves that although today we may be kind-hearted, generous, virtuous people, we have not always been this way in our long journey in samsara. The reason for that has been the fact that virtually all our associations have been with immoral, ignoble people, and these associations defiled our minds with raga, desha and moha, desire, aversion and delusion. Having been blinded with ignorance and attachment, countless times we will have offended, desecrated, reviled and insulted the noble ones. The consequences of such actions may be that today, as we make genuine effort to achieve our liberation, such efforts are hampered and it becomes difficult for us to achieve our liberation. So before we commence today's sermon, let us all take a moment to gather up humility and humbleness. Let us take a moment to accept the errors in our ways and to seek the forgiveness from the noble ones, the Samma Sambuddhas, Pacceka Buddhas, Arahata Buddhas, Anagamis, Sakrudagamis, Sotapannas, be they on the path of having attained the fruits, as well as the Buddha's ministry, the Sambuddha Shasana, for any words, thoughts, or actions of revile, desecration, slander, or insult we might have directed towards them. And also, as you make this reflection, I remind you all to make a solemn vow to yourself to never find yourself committing such offenses again. Okay. And I invite you to make one final promise to yourself, a solemn determination made through the course of this sermon. If there have thus far remained gaps in your understanding, in your knowledge, in your comprehension, made through the power of the merits that you have all conducted throughout this samsara, you be able to overcome such gaps, fulfill such gaps in your understanding, and may through the course of this sermon you be able to penetrate the veil of ignorance, achieve your enlightenment, close the gates to the four hells once and for all, achieve the first noble state of Sotapanna, and for any among you who may already have achieved that noble state, may through the course of this sermon you be able to fulfill the subsequent stages, and may we all be able to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. With that firm resolve in mind, I invite you all to prepare yourselves to listen to this sermon. Okay. Of him who has no doubts, he who is skillful, he who disciplines others, he who is an excellent guide, has no competition, therefore is unrivaled, whose nature is pure and sublime, free from taints, free from uncertainty, he who is able to enlighten others, give them the teaching, show them the path to achieve that enlightenment. He who has cut off pride entirely, he who is heroic, of that blessed one am I a disciple. That is the meaning of the third stanza, which you can see on screen. Asansayasya kulasya venaikasya sarati varasya anuttarasya ruchira dhammasya nikkankasya pabhasakarasya manachidasya virasya bhagavato tasya savako hamasmi. I hope you do take the time every day to reflect on this, or at least when you get an opportunity to listen to the sermons. I hope you're not one of those people who fast forward the preamble in the sermons before we get to the heavy stuff. Because one must not forget, and I'll emphasize this point, folks, that it is the soft stuff, the light stuff, that creates the path, that makes way for the hard stuff. To be entirely honest with you, as much as you might think that this is the light stuff, this is the easy stuff, understanding the Dhamma, the profound parts of it, that's the hard stuff. It is actually quite the other way around. What seems easy is really the difficult stuff. What seems hard, that's really the easy stuff. Unfortunately, not many people understand this, not many people will agree with this. You will see for yourself, if you just take a slice of society, a sample. A lot of people, they want to become knowledgeable in the Dhamma. They want to understand the ins and outs of it. They want to understand the A to Z of it. They will get hold of the scriptures, the 54 books of the Tripitaka, and they may spend time going through it with a fine tooth comb, untangling the almost confounding points of Dhamma, trying to master it, trying to make sense of every sentence, word and syllable uttered by the Buddha. They are so busy with that stuff. They have little time to be a kind husband or a good mother, to be kind-hearted when they see the poor or the elderly, the feeble and the weak, to extend a hand to help them, to help the weak stand up, to feed the hungry, to extend a kind word to heal a broken heart. People have little time for that because they're far too busy. Trying to become experts in the Dhamma. That is not the way forward. You can't get anywhere like that. Even in the Buddha's time, one of the best examples we have is Potila. The Venerable Potila. He was a monk, which you will know, not just in the time of Gautama Buddha, but also in the time of the previous Buddhas. It had become almost a habit for him to become proficient in the Dhamma, not through practice, but through gaining knowledge, by understanding the scriptures, knowing it front to back and back to front, and to be able to quote from any point in the Dhamma. He was well versed in the Dhamma. Ask him any question, you'd probably have gotten the Buddha's word as the answer. This is what the Buddha said, and he was probably right to the letter. But up until he received the Buddha's admonition, he was far from becoming who the Buddha wanted him to become by giving him the Dhamma. This is what I'm saying. It's easy to do what seems to be the difficult stuff, but it's difficult to do what most people think is the easy stuff. And because they think it's the easy stuff, they skip it. They skip over it. They'll think they can focus on that later. There are a lot of schools of Dhamma, right? Be that for young children, adults, in various contexts. They'll teach the Dhamma in the temples, they teach the Dhamma in schools, in universities, You can go as far as you want, learning the Dhamma, becoming well versed in it, and you could even earn titles to your name. There's probably a PhD somewhere. You can probably even become a professor in the Buddha Dhamma. But if you were to take a sample of professors, all the professors of the Buddha Dhamma, and examine their lives, are they all good husbands to their wives? Are they all good fathers to their children? Are they all respectful children towards their parents? Are they all respectful towards their teachers? Are they law-abiding citizens? Do they accept the rituals and customs, and are they careful that their words may hurt others? Chances are a very small number of them will probably tick all of the above boxes. Unfortunately, that is the truth, because the thing is this: it is easy to become a professor in the Buddha Dhamma. That is not the difficult stuff. What's difficult is to embrace the virtues that are entailed within the teachings of the Buddha. You must not forget that the stanzas that we used to recite and make veneration to the Noble Triple Gem, they're really virtues. They're really virtues that we need to instill within ourselves. They're not just stanzas to be memorized and repeated. They're not hymns. It's a teaching. It's a teaching that we must practice, and these are virtues that we must instill within ourselves. So just look, for instance, at this particular stanza that you can still see on your screen. He's an excellent guide. His nature is pure. He has cut off pride. He is heroic. Where here does it say that he is well versed in the Chitta and the Chaitasikas? It does not say that. But isn't that what a lot of people spend their time trying to become? Experts in the Buddha Dhamma. And they have very little time to become experts in themselves, to understand themselves, to unravel themselves. So if you want to be a disciple of the Blessed One, show that you are a Blessed One. Become a Blessed One. Become blessed. Become someone who, when people come across, when people talk to you, when people work with you, when people live with you, they feel like passing on their blessings to you, because you have made a difference in their lives, a positive difference in their lives. Are you someone who, when you have spent some time with the person that you just did spend time with, are you someone who will always receive their blessings? Or are you someone who attracts their curse? Are you a Blessed One? Are you one who receives others' blessings? Is your conduct such that you are worthy of other people's blessings? How else can you become a disciple of the Blessed One? Are your words, are your actions, are your thoughts those of kindness, those that bring well wishes, those that bring grace upon others? If that is the case, then you shall receive their blessings. Ask yourself, over the last 24 hours, over the last week, with your interactions with other people, how many of them do you think might have genuinely blessed you? How many of them do you think, at the end of your interaction with them, as you were ready to take your farewell, as you were getting ready to say your goodbyes to them, might they have asked you to stay around for a bit longer because they enjoy your company? Not because you're as bad as they are, but because you have brought blessings into their lives. You know, these are the metrics, folks, that you need to keep check in your life to see how close you are becoming to the Blessed One. You know, it's fine and well to be reciting this vow and to take this pledge of allegiance every week at least, to say, I am the disciple of the Blessed One. I know for most of you, since a long time, you will have been doing this daily. It's one of the things that Guru Swami Nuhanse advised all of us to do a long time ago. When he first taught us these stanzas, and we learned them. You were all here at the monastery when we first started doing that. One of the things he advised us to do was to recite this out loud every morning. So it may be that you are one of them who does that. But when you say, I am the disciple of the Blessed One, what is your qualification to make that claim? Having listened to all the sermons is not a qualification. Knowing the Tripitaka letter by letter, that is not a qualification to claim that you are a disciple of the Blessed One. Being able to explain the teachings of the Buddha, being able to untangle the most complicated, most convoluted parts of the Dhamma, that in itself is no qualification for you to be calling yourself a disciple of the Buddha or of the Blessed One. So what is your qualification to claim to be a disciple of the Blessed One? Let me tell you. To claim to be a disciple of the Blessed One, you must be someone who is blessed. You must be someone who brings blessings into people's lives. You must be someone who is a blessing to others. Are you? Are you someone who brings happiness to other people's lives? And you know, of course, by happiness I don't mean sensual pleasures and various other delights as such. I mean the pure happiness that comes from freeing oneself from the entanglements of defilements. Are you someone who brings blessings into other people's lives? Are you someone who other people enjoy the company of? Or are you someone when someone sees a mile away, they'll turn around and they'll walk away? Do you normally find yourself in the association of noble people? Remember, one of the very good ways of testing this is to see who the 5 people you spend most of your time with. It's important you do this from time to time. The 5 people that you spend most of your time with, are they people who other people like to hang around with? Not for all sorts of misdoings, but because their association, their presence in itself is enough to wash away fears, grief, agony, frustrations, and bring into people's lives peace, calmness, coolness, and a sense of sublime happiness. The people that you spend most of your life with, are they like that? Are they like that? Genuinely? Are you a blessed one? Do you receive other people's blessings? In which case, you are a blessed one. Are you a blessing on other people? In which case, you are a blessed one. That has to be your qualification to claim to be a disciple of the Blessed One. As I say, like father, like son. To claim that the Buddha is my father, well, you must be at least something like him. So, are you a blessed one? Are you an excellent guide? Are you an enlightener? Is your nature pure? Do you discipline others? What do we mean by disciplining? Do you discipline others in raga, dvesha and moha? Or to free them from raga, dvesha and moha? In which case, you are someone who brings blessings on other people. You are a blessing on other people's lives. In which case, you can claim to be a disciple of the Blessed One. So this is really something that you must, at least from time to time, take a moment to reflect on, folks. You know the drill now, right? In our sermons, we don't always continue to dispense with heavy, profound points of the Dhamma. I always take a point to intersperse them with an opportunity for you all to reflect on how much the Dhamma has really touched your life. To take a real check. To take a litmus test. To see if you have really embraced this Dhamma. And the test for that is not to give you a paper and get you to answer the questions and then give you a mark out of 100 and then tell you, well, you've scored over 80% on this paper, so therefore you must be someone who is a blessed one. You must be someone who is a disciple of the Buddha. That is not the way it works. I can't give you a paper to test this. You know what I can give you though? I can send an angry man to you and see what impact it has on you, or he or she has on you. I can send someone who is furious, who wants to tear you a new page, who's splattering out all sorts of expletives and swearing their guts out, and see what change or what impact it has on you. That's one way to test you. I can send someone to you and get them to ask from you your most prized possessions, and see if upon request you're able to part with them. Remember, on plenty times the Sakkadeva did this with the Bodhisattva. Do you not recall? Even in his penultimate birth as the Vesantara. The Sakkadeva took form as a Brahmin. And he came to the Bodhisattva. Encouraged him or requested of him for his children. This is how we can test you. I'm not saying I'm going to send anyone to ask you for your children, but are you someone who can give up your most prized possessions upon request without feeling the pangs of greed tugging at your heartstrings? How much have you practiced giving up now? This is your test. Not your knowledge in the Dhamma, but how you interact with others. How you interact with yourself when faced with all sorts of problems and questions that might come and might riddle your life. How do you face them? How do you tackle them? How much of the vicissitudes of life throw you and topple you over? This is your test. When you have issues at home, small domestic problems they might be, how do you handle them? How do you tackle them? Do you always have to have the last word? Are you kind and gentle to your family, to your friends, to others? Do you backbite? Do you say one thing to their face and then say something else to their back? Have you given up the unwholesome deeds? I'm asking you, are you a blessed one? What is your default response in the face of adversity? In the face of animosity, what is your default response? Is it the typical fight or flight? Or are you able to be more merciful? Are you able to be a sponge and absorb the shock such that you're able to heal he or she who is shocked? Now this is the test, folks. I'll always keep reminding you, this is the test. Because I'm always someone who, myself, and I'll always, if I guide anyone, my advice is always be grounded. Have both feet on the ground, firmly. Never test yourself in your knowledge of the Dhamma. Don't take that as evidence that you have progressed in the Dhamma. That metric is incorrect. Your progress in the Dhamma must always be measured by your conduct to yourself and others. Are you someone who is sympathetic towards yourself? Do you have compassion towards yourself? Are you kind to yourself? Within yourself, do you see a person or do you see just the problem? When you're feeling desirous about something, do you just go with the flow, or are you someone who will take a moment to analyze the situation and, through compassion for yourself, take a moment to heal the wound? Because the easy option is to just go with the flow. Are you someone like that? Even very simple things. I'm not talking about really complicated things. I'm talking about really simple things. In fact, that might be a really good exercise for you to be doing today as part of your meditation. I want you to ask yourself, how much compassion do you have for yourself? Because you cannot extend compassion that you don't have towards yourself to others. For instance, if you are someone who will always beat yourself up, let's say about a mistake. So, put it short and simple, if you are someone who will always regret, chances are, when someone else makes a mistake, you don't easily forgive. That's the way it works. You can't extend to others what you don't extend to yourself. That is true in every walk of life. You can't give something to someone else if you don't have it to yourself. If you are not kind to yourself, you can't be kind to someone else. So, how about that for a test? See if you can go into just last week, right? How many times did you fail to be compassionate towards yourself? How many times did you fail to bring blessings upon yourself? I can give you plenty of examples, but I want you to go into your life and find examples which are true for you. I'll give you some so you know what I'm really asking you to do here. You understand that the fire of desire, aversion and delusion, these three fires are the fires that have to be extinguished. And as long as these fires keep burning within you, happiness is but a fantasy. Right? So, when the fires of desire, aversion or delusion burn within you, how many times did you just give in versus how many times did you actually actively work to expel them, to extinguish them? Simple example. Okay. Let's say you either made for yourself or perhaps a friend offered you a beverage. Keep it simple, cup of tea. When you tasted that tea, you realized that it didn't have enough sugar. Not enough sugar to your liking. Now, here we have a problem. The fire of desire, which burns within you, will now compel you to either request or get for yourself an extra teaspoon or two of sugar. Right? I'm not talking about a time when perhaps you don't have enough sugar, and if you don't take enough sugar, then perhaps you're going to have a coma. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm just talking about a normal person. Right? Just a normal person. A normal example, really simple. If you are someone who takes sugar because it's a taste that you delight in, not sugar because your body needs to function, but sugar because you like the taste of it. Now you are served a tea. There was either not enough sugar, or let's keep it there, there wasn't enough sugar in your tea. Now the fire of desire that's burning within you will start to demand, will start to make demands. Right, that's not enough sugar. Ask for some more. Or go and get yourself some more. This is the desire that is burning within you. The desire for delightful taste. Right? So when you face that situation, how did you handle that? Did you handle that with compassion towards yourself? Or did you handle that with indifference towards yourself? I don't care about myself. I'll just go and get some more sugar. If you don't have that compassion towards yourself, I'm telling you, you don't have it towards anybody else. We've proved this in the past, right? Plenty times. No one loves somebody else, everyone loves themselves. Remember, the Bodhisattva first became a Buddha himself before he helped others become Buddhas. How is it that he can help others become Buddhas? Why was he not able to do that when he's only a Bodhisattva? Simple answer is, you can't give to others what you don't have for yourself. This applies also in many, in pretty much every worldly situation. You can't give away money if you don't have it for yourself. You either have to give away your own money, or you got to take it from someone else and give it to somebody else. Right? If you're a philanthropist, you'll give away money you have. If you consider yourself a vigilante, you might take something from someone who has and give it to someone who doesn't have. Either way, you have to have it in your possession before you can pass it on to someone else. How much blessings do you bring upon yourself in your life? Are you a blessing to yourself, or are you a curse to yourself? Let's take another example. I'm giving a few examples so that when I give you some time to reflect into your last week, you know what sort of things I'm looking for, right? Let's say you were in your living room, or you walked past your living room. You wanted to get somewhere from, say, your bedroom to the kitchen or something. You walked past the living room. Or do you have a TV room also? Some people have a TV room, okay? So you walk past the TV room, and the TV was switched off, but you felt like, maybe I just want to watch some TV now. No particular reason. It's not like you wanted to get up to date with when the schools were going to reopen. Nothing like that. You just wanted to watch some TV. So you were walking past the TV, and you know how sometimes you walk past the TV and then you trace your steps back, like you can feel the pull of it. It's tugging on you, right? When you felt that tug, here's a moment for you to be compassionate towards yourself. Here's a moment for you to bring some blessings on your life. What did you do on that occasion? When you felt the tug of the TV on your mind, what was your response? Did you take a moment to reflect on the situation? And extend noble compassion towards yourself, noble metta to yourself. Remember, Arya Maitreya always starts with, may all beings and I, doesn't it? No, of course not. It's always, may I and all beings in all worlds. That is because you can only extend to others what you extend to yourself. So in that situation where you were walking past the TV and you felt the tug of the TV on your mind, and you felt like you were slamming the brakes, so you wanted to trace your steps back, go back down, sit on the sofa and start watching the TV. You could see the remote on the teapot, right? And then all sorts of stories come in your mind, right? I'm just only going to watch it for 10 minutes. You start with 10 because then you're going to argue. You're going to barter with yourself, right? You're going to have your moral compass now kick in. Sometimes the sermons will come into your mind. And then your moral compass, you're now going to start bartering with it. You start with 10 because then you can settle for 5, right? That's the way it works. So say, I'm only going to watch it for 10 minutes. And then Swami Maharaj says, do your 15-minute meditation every day. And I haven't done it today. Perhaps I could use these 10 minutes plus another 5 minutes, and then that's my 15 minutes done. So what your bartering mind will say, right, is, okay, well, let's do 5 then. Now you'll argue for 5. and then your good side will give in. Did it? Did you walk back, sit on the sofa, pick up the remote, put your legs on the teepo, and switch on the TV? And then you started with 5, and then 0 at the end of 5. Is that what happened? 5 minutes turned to 50 minutes. And then, after you've gone sort of about, 2 or 3 times what you promised yourself, you then cross the guilty threshold. There is something like that, isn't there? So when you first start doing something you shouldn't be doing, right? There's a guilty threshold. Within that threshold, you'll continue to feel guilty about it. I really shouldn't be doing this. I think I ought to stop now. This is bad. I have to do my 15 minutes. But there's also the homework that I have to get done, right? And then I said I was going to do the dishes tonight. I need to go and pick up the kids, right? You'll have all sorts of that's your guilty threshold. You shouldn't be doing this right now. But all you got to do is wait for a bit longer. Right? When you have passed 2 or 3 times the original promise that you made, so if it's 5 minutes, once you've gone past 15 minutes, you've crossed the guilty threshold. An old folk tale comes to mind. I learned it from my parents. I think those of you who are Sinhalese listeners will know this very well. Where someone asks, "Achi achi pol kadannada?" So the story goes like this. I'll translate it as best I can for our non-native speakers. So there's someone, right, says he seeks permission to pluck coconuts from his grandmother, Achi. So Achi, can I pluck the coconuts? And then Achi says, no, don't pluck any. But this guy does it after he's already plucked 1 or 2. And then he says, but I've already plucked a couple. And then of course Achi says, well, go on then, pluck the lot. So you see, now he's passed the guilty threshold. Two coconuts. That's the guilty threshold. Because then you have justified it. That duration of time where it's uncomfortable, that internal turmoil. We've all got that, right? Internally, you're fighting. Like, I really shouldn't be doing this. All that moral compass that keeps trying to pull you out of this and put you back into normalcy, it can only fight for so long. Once you pass the guilty threshold, now you have justified it yourself, and then that becomes the new normal. I might as well. That's it. You're over the threshold. From that point forward, an immense jerk of energy is required to pull you back out of it. Because the Kalyanamitta within yourself, within your own mind has failed. Now you need a Kalyanamitta to come from outside. So your self-defense mechanisms have all broken down. They've all failed. Now you need help from outside. You need reinforcements from outside. So that's the way it works. you know the drill. I'm just breaking it down for you. So as you're listening to this, you're beginning to realize that's exactly what happened, Swami Nuhansa. Yes, I know. That's what I'm saying. This is how it works. I'm not saying anything new. I'm just breaking it down for you. Just reminding you, isn't this how it works? All bad habits, this is the way it starts. In modern days, you pass a guy a cigarette for the first time, right? And you ask him to smoke. What's his initial response going to be? His moral compass is going to say, no way, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that. Then he has all the Asat Purushas around him, right? They'll say, no, it's just one puff. What are they trying to do? They're trying to get him to pass the guilty threshold. Right? That's what's happening. Just one puff. Then he says, no, what will my mother say if she finds out about this? I'm not going to do this. This is not the way my parents brought me up. I'm not going to do this. Even if he doesn't vocalize it, these are the words that are going through his mind. I'm never going to do this. I'm never going to say yes to this. I'm not even going to touch it. Oh, well, wait, sorry, they've already put one in between my fingers. That's the way it works. Well, it's too late for that now, to never touch a cigarette. It's already between my fingers. Now what? I'm never going to bring this to my lips. No, never. I'm never going to do that. What about all those adverts on TV that says that smoking can cause cancer? I'm never going to be doing that. And he says, right, I'm never, and that's it. He can't speak anymore because the stub is between his lips now. Again, he's passed the guilty threshold. Well, now the poor bugger's got to breathe, right? So with his lips sealed, with a cigarette between his lips, when he breathes, what happens? That's it. One puff. Followed by 100 coughs. I don't have experience of this, but I know friends who've shared such experiences with me. Never smoked in my life, thankfully. But at the end of that experience, he's broken the guilty threshold. Most of you, right? I'd say 99% of you who've either smoked or still smoke in your life, isn't this how it happened? How it first happened? Or perhaps it could have been some drugs. Or when someone proposed, look what I've got for you, don't tell anyone, I'm not going to tell anyone, right? See what I've got for you. It's not easy to find this stuff. This is the best stuff. It make you feel happy for days and days. Again, I've never tried this, but I have spoken to people who have. So they tell me this is how it works. Peer pressure. What is the peer pressure for? What do you need pressure for? You need pressure to overcome something, right? That's what you need pressure for. It's a force. So pressure is felt when there are two opposing forces. That's when you feel pressure. So what is the opposing force? That is your guilty threshold. Because if you were to think that something's perfectly fine, why there wouldn't be an opposing force? When was the last time you had to force yourself to breathe? Because there's no opposing force there. You don't have to force yourself to breathe. You breathe. That's just very natural. But when you have a voice in the back of your head saying, no, 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 don't do it, I'm never going to be doing it, that's just so not me, goes against all my values, that's not what I stand for, it's not what my parents have taught me, it's not what my teachers have brought me up to do, right? Then what happens? Peer pressure. Pressure, 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 and more pressure. What is this pressure for? That pressure is to find your guilty threshold. Once you've overcome that, you no longer need peer pressure. Now it is justified. That becomes the new normal. And the less fear and shame you have to do bad things, the lower your guilty threshold. The more fear and shame you have to do bad things, the greater your guilty threshold, because that is after all what guilt is. The fear and shame of doing bad things. Either fear of insult, or the shame, fear of doing something that you shouldn't be doing, or the shame that will come following that. That's what you need peer pressure for. I know that was a long diversion, but useful one, nevertheless. I think someone sent a question, or a request rather, to talk about people, young children who get addicted, who become addicted to narcotics, sometimes alcohol and drugs and smoking, things that can generally ruin someone's life to the extent you allow it. After all, that's essentially what it is, right? You go walk into the supermarket, don't they have a ruin your life aisle? Ruin your life yourself aisle? What number is that in your local supermarket? It's usually a liquid in a bottle. Or it's usually tubes in a box. Or sometimes it's powder in a packet. You can find, not the last one normally, but the first two in the ruin your life yourself aisle. What aisle number is that in your supermarket? Sometimes they have shops that are dedicated to that. We help you ruin your life. That is the motto. You'll end up usually behind bars. That's probably why they call it a bar. It's like you get a fast track to behind bars. Hence they call it a bar, I think. I know. This is a little bit of a sidetrack, but I think it's a useful one nevertheless, because there may be people out there who need to hear these words. As I said, I'd never come with an agenda. This was the last thing that I was thinking of talking to you about, but don't know, it came from somewhere. Maybe someone on the sermon today needs to hear these words. Now you know how I am, right? With things like this, I'll take you to the launders. I will be the first one to admit every human has a basic human right to ruin their life. That I agree. So I'm not in the business of meddling with your basic human rights. I respect them, but at the same time I think every human being has a basic human right to free themselves from suffering. The two of them are at odds with each other, unfortunately. We do have quite a lot of young listeners on these sermons, and I know a lot of them that's probably unfair. Maybe there's a few of them, let's say a few of them are still slaves to a liquid in a bottle, tubes in a box, or powder in a packet. Which one of the above uses you? Yes, you heard me right. I didn't say which one of them do you use. I said which one of them uses you. Do you know why drug abuse is called drug abuse? It's not you abusing the drug. It's not you abusing the alcohol. So what is it? It's the other way around. You can get all of this stuff in the Ruin Your Life Yourself file. You can find them in all good supermarkets. That's what they say, right? I don't want you to think that I'm on a moral high horse and I'm talking down on people who are being used by these things. That's not my intention, right? I need you to understand that I'm on your side. They're abusing you. I don't want to abuse you also, because I don't need to do that when I've already got, or they're already abusing you, so I don't need to do that. I'm trying to help you realize that your life is not something that should be abused by some substance. I think you need to give more value to your life, because your life is a lot more precious than that. There's a lot more you can achieve with your life than being the toy boy of a liquid in a bottle. And if you've been following the sermons, then you'll realize your human life is extremely precious, because your human life is to understand the things that we talk about in these sermons, so that you can become free. Anything that you use typically uses you. Typically. Only through your progression on the noble path does that become an invalid statement. So it becomes more you use it and less it uses you. But the further behind you are on the noble path, whatever you use, that uses you. Food, right? We started with the example of an extra teaspoon of sugar. Now you think things you have at home are for you to use, right? That's why you bought them. That's why you paid good money for them, so that you can use it. It could have been used by anyone, right? What's it doing now? It's using you. So, this is what I want you to take a moment to reflect on, right? Perhaps you are still someone who's a slave to the liquid in a bottle. In which case, maybe there was one or two at least occasions, right, in the week gone by where you know sometimes people do it out of habit, don't they? I know some people who can't function without gulping down a glass of wine every hour. What, you thought I was going to day a day? It goes through, from one end of the spectrum to the other. There are some people who can't function. There are some people who can't go to the toilet until they've had a smoke. How do I know about you so much? As I said, when I come across these things, I take you to the laundress. I'll wash you clean. That's what I'll do. But when you start to wash, it hurts. I didn't ask you to come on the sermons. You did it yourself. After all, this is the Jethavarama Viharaya Buddhist laundry. We wash you clean. At Dharmayai Obai, we wash you clean. All you got to do is come and sit with your ears wide open and let the words touch you. The words will do their job. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be there. You just have to listen. You just have to pay attention. You just have to stay awake and keep your focus. Let the words work their power. Do their magic. Leave that with me. Leave that with the Sangha. After all, that's what Sangha is. It's the human laundry. It's the laundry for all sentient beings. Sangha. We wash you clean. Whatever those dirty defilements might be, however small or large, however deep they may be hidden, we'll pull them out. Quite a few people wrote back saying that they tried out the experiment of having a voice recorder with them. They carried one around all day, got some recordings, and there was some very interesting feedback from people. Quite a few people said it was an eye-opening experience. One person said that was the best experiment I've ever done in my life. I knew very little about myself until I actually did that, Swami Nahansa. So, as I said, if you do these things, you will win. If you don't do these things, ... So you've come to the human laundry. You used to come in person. Now you do a takeaway. Either way, you come to the human laundry, and because you want to be washed clean, don't you? Oh, home delivery rather. I used to come and eat in, now it's home delivery. We do all sorts. We pride ourselves in customer service. We wash you clean. So, what are some of those occasions which you failed? In which you failed, where you failed to show yourself some compassion. When you saw that bottle, did you not feel the fire of desire calling on you? I know some people who has a lot of willpower, right? Their willpower, or sometimes very weak willpower. What they'll do is they'll keep the bottle as far away from their reach as possible. They'll still go and buy it from the supermarket. You know which aisle that is, Ruin Your Life Yourself aisle. They'll get the bottle from the supermarket. They bring it home, but they'll keep it somewhere home, but as far from their reach as possible. Right, on the roof, for instance. So when they need a drink, they're going to have to get out, get the ladder, right, lean that against the roof, and climb the ladder, get to the roof, get the bottle, right, descend the ladder, walk back into the kitchen, pour themselves a glass, right? All sorts you have. Some people will hide it within inverted commas inside a cupboard. The only problem is they know which cupboard it is. So still they think they're hiding it. I know. Some people will they'll put it in their wardrobe behind all their clothes, so that it's not always visible to them. Some people will put it in a cabinet or a showcase, and they'll lock it, and they'll put the key somewhere not within easy reach. Where do you keep your bottles? I'm quite keen to know where do you keep your bottles, so that you can remain within your guilty threshold. I won't be surprised if some of you keep it near the Buddha statue. Right, so that when you walk up to the Buddha statue, you're looking at the Buddha, you're looking at the bottle, right? Buddha bottle, Buddha bottle, Buddha bottle. You're trying to work out which one which one am I a disciple of, right? And do you have that problem? It can be anything. For someone, it's a bottle. It's a bottle. For others, it's a box of chocolates. For others, it's a tub of ice cream. For others, it's an extra teaspoon of sugar. What happened to that box of chocolates that you had in your fridge last Monday? You can't give me the old excuse, my dog ate it. You don't have a dog. Certainly not a four-legged one. You can't tell me the dog walked up to the fridge, opened the door, standing on its two rear legs, right? Put its leg forward, grabbed the chocolate, opened it, put the wrapper in the bin. That box of it may be that the dog ate it, but I think that the way it happened was the box of chocolates made you, the human, a dog. And then the dog ate it. Isn't that what happened? I'm saying, where's your compassion towards yourself? Why do you allow a box of chocolates to bring out the beast within you? You can meditate along with me. This is you're meditating along with me. You can have your eyes closed. You can have your eyes open. Doesn't matter. I want you to think. Right? Don't just wait for my next words. Think. Use examples from your own life. How many times has this happened to you? Right? Say you got something, pizza. You got some pizza, and 3 slices was all you needed. Right, you got your 3 slices. Now it's on your plate, and you thought, right, the rest can go in the fridge. You take the pizza, put it back in the box, and you walk up to the fridge. And as you open the door to slide this box back in the fridge, you look at the pizza box again and go, a 4th slice couldn't do a lot of harm. I mean, it's not like murder. I'm just getting myself a slice of pizza. You don't need the 4th one. This is a moment where you need to practice noble compassion. So what do you do on these occasions? Has that never happened to you? Maybe not with pizza, but what happened with the ice cream tub? Come on, this is true. Right? How many times have you got yourself a dessert dish, right? Opened up the ice cream tub, gotten that scoop in your hand, right? And you scooped yourself 2 spoons, right? You thought, that's a decent serving for an adult of my size, right? Put the 2 scoops in there, and then as you were about to close the lid, what did you do? Yes, what did you do? You're ashamed to admit it now, aren't you? Didn't an extra serving go from tub to dish? And then what happened? extra serving from tub to dish, and then the dish went into the freezer and the tub went with you to the sofa. Isn't that what happened? So 3 scoops, that's for Chutimali, Lokumali and Podinangi. The tub, I know who's going to be looking after that. This is not happened to you. Am I talking about Martians? If you and I lived the same life, then you and I would have done a lot of the same things. So you can't tell me these things didn't happen in your life, because they certainly happened in mine. That's how I know so much about you. Liquid in a bottle, tubes in a packet, powder or tubes in a box and powder in a packet. These are all assumptions, but the rest of it, I've been there. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. Right, so think back to last week. How many opportunities to practice self-compassion did you bypass? Did you let go? Did you forsake? And you talk about, I have a lot of compassion for all people. Swaminathan, I'm the compassionate one. Where's your compassion towards yourself? I'm not kidding, folks. You need to practice compassion on yourself. You should not allow these opportunities to pass by without doing something about it, because these are the opportunities for you to practice the path. When does a soldier get an opportunity, right? What's the live opportunity for a soldier to win a battle? Is it when the enemy is a mile away? Or is it when the enemy is up close? Any hope of winning this battle, if the enemy is not going to give up or surrender, right? Any hope of winning this battle is going to be when the enemy is a mile away, or when the enemy is up close, a yard away, a foot away. Right? So you know the answer. It's when the enemy is up close. So now you can fight. What do you do when your enemies come up close? You know what? I'll tell you what you do, right? You'll claim to fight them when they're miles away. You'll wage war. You'll say, "Don't you ever come near me. I will tear you up to pieces. I will destroy you." Right? And then what happens when the enemy is up close? Right? So the enemy walks up to you and say, "You said what?" What do you say then? Don't you put your arms up in the air and go, "I give up"? Are you a soldier? I've never seen such lousy soldiers. Soldiers who wage war, who claim to destroy the entire enemy battalion, and then when the enemy is up front, right up their faces, they go, hands up in the air, "I give up." I give up, don't shoot. Come on. And then every day you'll say, "Bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi." Do you still have the Buddha statue at home? Because if your actions are like the ones I just described there, right? You'll wage war, and when the enemy comes up close, and you put your hands up in the air and go, maybe another day, and then you say Bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi every day. I wouldn't be surprised if one fine day, right, while everyone at home was asleep, the Buddha statue got up. The statue got up from the altar and actually walked away. I won't be surprised if that happened. Even a stone statue can't be around when you are making a fool of yourself. Because the Buddha Savakas are not like that. Sorry to disappoint if you expected meditation time today. This is meditation. This is how we're going to be doing our meditation today. I'm giving you time to think as we go along. This is not deep, heavy stuff, right? I'm talking about everyday life. I want you to bring examples from the past week. And as I talk about these things, I want you to actively bring forward examples from last week. You don't need to think back further that. Bring examples from last week. Did you or did you not get yourself an extra serving from the ice cream tub? Did you or did you not get yourself an extra teaspoonful of sugar? Did you or did you not? When there was, say, some cake, right? Okay, icing cake. Maybe you went around someone's for lunch, and for dessert was cake, right? It was icing cake. So you got a slice of cake, and then you saw there was an extra bit of slicing that's left over from the previous slice. Right? So the guy who took the previous slice, he or she left behind some icing that was from the previous slice. Did you not go back with that cake knife and get that extra leftover icing and put it back on your dish? You thought to yourself, he's not going to come back for it, so I might as well. Did you or did you not? Where's your compassion towards yourself? This is Hare Maitreya. But remember, it starts with yourself. When faced with these situations, what do? You waged war, and now the enemy is up close. The enemy is up front. What do you do now? You surrender. Don't you realize you're fighting a losing battle? How dare you then say Bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi? Because the Bhagavato tassa savakas are not like that. If anything, they don't wage war like that. They don't brandish their swords up in the air. What they do is they'll quietly, stealthily, when the enemy comes up close, they'll destroy the enemy. That's the way they operate. What is your modus operandi? A lot of talk, or when the enemy is up front, you surrender. That's not the style. of a Bhagavato Tassa Savaka. That is not the style of a blessed one. That is not the style of someone who brings blessings upon their life as well as that upon others. You want more? Okay. Right, I'll give you examples. If you're failing and struggling to bring examples from your life, let me give you some to help. Right? How many of you take your smartphones to bed? Right? So light switched off. Right? Children are in bed. Right? Now it's your turn. Smartphone in hand. You lay in bed. Right? What happens next? Which one is it for you? YouTube? No? Instagram? No? I hear someone say the latest one is TikTok. Is that one? Snapchat? WhatsApp? Facebook? How much time do you need to be on that before you pass your guilty threshold? How much time do you spend with your phone in hand telling yourself, I really oughtn't be doing this. I really oughtn't do this. I pick the phone up to set the alarm. What am I doing now? That's why, that's how you'll take the phone to bed. You want to set the alarm. Right? So you set the alarm. What do you do next? Oh, yes, of course. You want to close all the recent tabs, right? To save your battery. Right? So you get to the recent tabs and then you see your YouTube there. You see your Facebook there. So now you click on that because you see something interesting. What happens next? What happens next is your alarm rings because it's already 6 o'clock in the morning. That's how long you've been on your phone. Where's your compassion towards yourself? Where's your self-compassion? Where's your self-noble compassion? Where's the may I and all beings in all worlds? I'm telling you folks, you can't give someone something you don't already have. If you are not compassionate towards yourself, you cannot be compassionate towards others. If you are someone who gets easily flustered in the face of problems, you cannot teach someone else how to do that, how to remain unflustered. You can try, it just doesn't come across. There's no power, there's no weight, there's no integrity in what you're saying. You want more? Okay, I'll give you examples. You see how many of these, among others, you came across over the past week, right? I'm showing you that as much as you like to say, Swamin Wahansa, we listen to your sermon, Swamin Wahansa, and we practice the path, Swamin Wahansa, and we do the 15-minute Swamin Wahansa, I'm telling you, maybe so, right? But there may be okay, maybe not all of you. I just feel there's some of you out there. I hope I'm wrong. I really do, right? But I'm telling you what I feel. I feel there's some of you out there, right, for whom Buddhism is a showcase. The teachings of the Buddha, they're an ornament. You know how some people like to have on their phones like the name and number of a famous monk. People like that. No, they do, seriously. Like they like to have the number of a doctor, right? So whenever there's a problem, this is my doctor. This is my favorite doctor. This is my favorite lawyer. And this is my favorite monk. How many times have people asked me for a phone number? And then with the answer I gave them, they no longer considered me their favorite monk. That sorted that out. What I'm telling you is, this is not a showcase. This is the most precious thing, folks, right? All of humanity, all sentient beings, this is the most precious thing we've ever come across. Let's not make a showcase out of this. Let's not make an ornament out of this. Let's live and breathe this. Let's embrace this. Let's make this a part of our lives. In fact, let's make this our life. I want you to be able to do this as much as I'm doing it. If I can, you can. Of course. But don't make this a showcase. Are you practicing noble compassion towards yourself? Because when you want to be picking up your phone and going on YouTube, when you know very well, I don't need to be on YouTube right now. I need to get some sleep. I don't need to be on WhatsApp or Facebook or anything right now. I need to get some sleep. I've got work tomorrow morning, or I should get my 6 hours sleep. But the lure of it is so strong, the fire of desire burning within you is so strong. I'm saying, don't give in. Fight. You can't be weak like that. You got to be stronger than that. You got to fight, because the enemy is in front of you. You waged war when he was a miles away from you. I'm saying that strategy does not work. You're the one who aroused the enemy, after all. Because your enemy is a strong enemy. It's not an enemy to be reckoned with. You got to be careful. Now you're trying to fight Mara. It's not like fighting your little brother. Don't think that fighting Mara is the same. Remember, Mara is relentless. There might have been days where you felt weak, where you felt meh, where you felt I can't be bothered, but there wasn't a day, let alone a day, there wasn't a chitta that went past when Mara thought, I'm not going to bother. Every chitta in samsara brought upon you pain, suffering, anguish and torment. So I'm saying, when you get into bed, when you pick up that phone, set the alarm and put the phone away, for heaven's sake, because what you're going to be doing next is going to tie you to it. You won't be able to break loose. Fight it, fight it, fight it. Here's the thing, right? Every battle you pick today, you're going to have to win someday. Agree or not? Every battle you pick to fight, you're going to have to fight someday. It's okay to skip this battle if this battle you're never going to have to fight again. Right? Like sometimes when two people get into a brawl, okay, the better guy will normally say, yeah, you know what, let's just call it a day, right? Yeah, I give in, right? Whatever you want, here you go, right? I'm that's it. I call it quits. Walk away. And so the guy decides there's no point going into an argument with this guy, and I'm just going to drop this, and he walks away. What if the only way to win in life is to beat this enemy? Walking away is not a solution. You're going to have to fight it. Meeting the stranger on the street, and when he bumps into you and he says, "Oh, where are you going?" That's not a fight worth picking. That fight, you're better off walking away and just saying, yeah, "I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Didn't see you there." That's not a fight worth picking. But when it comes to raga, dvesha, moha, you can't walk away. Because if you do that today, guess what you're going to have to do tomorrow? Because this is not an enemy. If you walk away, the enemy is never going to come again. That's not the kind of enemy you're fighting today, folks. Either today, tomorrow, or a million years from today, you're going to have to fight that enemy. So why not today then? Procrastination does not work in this case. It's pointless. So if you have a habit, whatever that habit might be, right, when the opportunity comes for you to fight it, fight it. Fight it till its death. I'm asking you, think back to the last week. Find those opportunities that you failed to practice noble compassion towards yourself. I'll give you more examples. Last time you put your dirty laundry in the washing machine, right? And it came out after a good wash. If you had put in detergent as well as maybe fabric softener or some kind of the stuff you put in to make your clothes smell nice, did you not hold it up to your nose as soon as it came out the washing machine? Why? Did you not fail there? Last time you opened a new book, what did you do? Did you not hold it up to your nose? Last time you got the newspaper, do you still get that? Okay, so last time you got the newspaper and you opened up its pages for the first time, did you not hold it up to your nose? Do you still wait for the newspaper to read the cartoon at the back of it? Do you still enjoy that story? I'm afraid you've come to the human washing machine, so beware, you'll be washed. If you like the soil and if you like the all the grime and the dirt and the dust on you, they don't come to this laundry. If you walked in through the door, then our assumption is that you want to be washed. What happened? Are you still picky about the air freshener you hang in your car? The one that goes in the rearview mirror? Has it still got to be pine? Or is it sandalwood? Go back to last week. What are some of the things you did last week? Where are some of the moments you failed? To practice noble compassion on yourself. Because what should you have done? On that occasion, what should you have done? Where you needed that extra teaspoon of sugar, what should you have done? If it's not to go and get another teaspoon, what should you have done? If it's not for medical reasons, meaning you only needed it for extra taste, wasn't that a perfect opportunity for you to practice the path, reflect on the Dhamma? Reflecting on the Dhamma, Swami Nivansa, I only do that on Sundays. Exactly, that's my point. It doesn't work like that. Okay, breathing. Which days of the week do you do that? Eating. Which days of the week do you do that? Sleeping. Which days of the week do you do that? So if you are fine to be doing that all days of the week, how come practicing the Dhamma, Sundays, what's all that about? Where is your compassion towards yourself? How can you show someone else compassion that you don't show yourself? It doesn't work like that, I tell you. Believe me, it doesn't work like that. You cannot give someone else something you don't already have. Full stop. That may be something material, that may be something spiritual. You cannot give someone something to someone else you don't already have. If you don't have money, you can't give that to somebody else. If you don't have clothes, you can't give clothes you don't have to somebody else. If you can't give food that you don't have to somebody else. You can't give shelter that you don't have to somebody else. You can't give compassion that you don't have to somebody else. If you don't have compassion towards yourself, you don't have it towards anybody else. One who does not practice self-compassion I say, one who does not practice self-compassion, I don't trust them one moment that they will practice compassion on me, or that they will be compassionate towards me. I can't trust them. Because after all, the only thing that can be trusted is the Dhamma. The Dhamma is the only thing that can be trusted. If you want to earn my trust, be someone who is self-compassionate. What do I mean? When the enemy is up front, be someone who fights the enemy, not someone who gives up. I don't trust you if you do that. I fear your presence. I find your presence distasteful. I find your company distasteful. I'll be as bland as that. As blunt as that. I find your company distasteful if you are not someone who is self-compassionate. I want nothing to do with you if you are not someone who is self-compassionate. Answer this simple question. Shouldn't a mother be scared of associating her child, be that a son or daughter, if he or she is not a Sotapanna? Shouldn't a mother be worried for her life if her son or daughter is not a Sotapanna? What guarantee does she have that I will never be victim to a murder attempt by my child if they are not a Sotapanna? What guarantee does she have? But if you are a mother and you understand the nature of a Sotapanna, that is, that the murder of a parent is never a thought that would come into their mind, isn't that when you can trust your child? So if a mother finds it difficult to trust a child when a child is not Sotapanna, how can I trust you? Because I can only trust the Dhamma. So when I see you in the face of defilements, you allow them to ruin your life. When I see you allow your enemy to walk all over you and trample you, I just don't like to be around you. Sorry. Because I fear you. You have no self-compassion. I don't expect you to have any compassion towards me. I'm asking you, what are the moments in the past week where you practiced self-compassion, whereby those urges you fought them? Perhaps it's pornography for someone. I'm talking about liquid in a bottle. Could have been a woman on a screen for somebody else. You went online, you just wanted to check your emails. And then you thought, maybe I should just check the news also while I'm at it. Then you thought, I wonder what the gossip is these days. I'm told there are websites for that. So you went on that. And then there came a pop-up. Right? Then you thought, I wonder what that is. Looks interesting. Wasn't that a moment where you should have practiced self-compassion? Wasn't that a moment where you should have thought to yourself, hang on a second, what am I doing here? Am I not allowing the fire of desire to burn me inside out? Don't I know better than this? I'll tell you what happened. One moment you glanced at it, right? That's still within your guilty threshold. No. I really shouldn't. I promised myself 3 weeks ago, I'll never click on those things. I'll never watch those things. I'll never go on those websites, right? 3 weeks ago, I promised myself. I want to go clean, right? You promised that yourself 3 weeks ago, right? Now you see this. You abstained yourself for the last 3 weeks. You didn't go on those websites. You just checked your email, checked the news, and you got out of that. But now, see what desire is doing to you? This is the pressure to pass your guilty threshold. One glance, two glances, three glances, and you're in. One click is all it takes. That's why it's called clickbait. I remember seeing videos on YouTube, right? This is the way it works, right? They have these things called clickbait, right? I've got nothing against YouTube. I'm just saying this is how people meddle with your minds. You seem to be okay with that. I'm just saying, don't fall for these things. You know clickbait, right? Where they'll show you a thumbnail on a clip, and when you click on the video, it's nothing to do with the thumbnail. Here's what happens. The thumbnail looks attractive, so you click on it because now you've clicked. Now you're bait. Right? You clicked on it. And now what happens? If it's nothing to do with the thumbnail, has it not left you vexed? Because you've just been given a promise, and now that promise is left unfulfilled. So where do you go next from there? You want something, it's not in this shop. What do you do next? That's right. You click on the browser, URL, right? You replace YouTube with something else, don't you? And that's it, you're in. Now you're in the devil's dungeon. Good luck getting out. How many times did this happen to you last week? How many times, when you should have practiced noble compassion, self-compassion, did you forego of such opportunities? Those were the moments for you to practice the path. How many times did you let them go by? I'll tell you what happens after that, right? Normally what happens is you'll pass the guilty threshold, and then you are in familiar territory, right? Now you have justified this to yourself, and then you're in there for a considerable period of time, and then after a little while, when the pleasure of it fades away, right? What happens then? What comes back knocking on your door? Indeed, that old guilt comes back knocking on the door. Comes back knocking on the door. I'm home. Now what do? Now you feel terrible about yourself. Now what do? You'll switch off the wind. You close the browser. Before that you got to empty your browsing history. So you do that first, and then close the browser, right? Then what do? I know one guy who used to, the way that he used to make his mind up, because he was addicted to pornography. He used to tell me the way that he used to make himself feel better. This is typical psychology he's talking about, right? First he feels guilty, then once the guilt threshold is passed, then it goes into very friendly territory, right? And then after a while the guilt comes back in, right? When after the climax, if you like, right? Then everything's done and dusted, and now the guy feels so guilty. He says he goes and takes a shower, because he feels that now he can. The only way that he can cleanse himself is he washes himself in the shower, thinking that's, now a new chapter, right? That's it, right? That's all life gone, now new life. I'm never going to be doing it again. Good, but should you maybe not have tried that before the event? What happened to self-compassion? Who's this guy I just talked about? Does this ring true? Can you relate to this story? So who's the guy I just talked about then? I want you to bring this home, folks. This is not child play. As I said, don't try to make an ornament out of the Dhamma. What are the other moments that you had? Did you go back for extra salt? Oh, that's fine, isn't it? Salt and pepper. That's okay, isn't it? You go into a restaurant, there's salt and pepper. That's normal, right? 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 Why are you worried that you may not be taking the minimum recommended salt intake recommended by your doctor? Is that why you got to add extra salt? Or is that because your food doesn't taste good enough? Isn't that the fire of desire? Isn't that a moment for you to be practicing self-compassion? I'm saying, right, I want you to be touching these things in the most simplest of places, folks. Right? Don't overcomplicate this. I've never asked you to sit down and meditate for 3 hours at a stretch, have I? Never asked you to do that. What are the things I'm asking you to do? I'm asking you to think twice before you go for an extra teaspoonful of sugar. Why don't people do this? Because it's so easy not to do. That's why. People like to complicate things. I'll bet I was going to say money, but I don't have any. I'll bet anything, right? There's probably a whole lot of people who used to listen to these sermons in the past, but they don't now. Nothing against them, but let me suggest 1 or 2 reasons why. 1, these sermons, they're just too simple. It's for simpletons. These sermons are not complicated. The things that Swami Mahansi asks to do, it's like, my 6-year-old could do it. Tell me something complicated, like meditate standing on 1 foot and holding my breath for 5 hours. That's the sort of thing I need to be able to do. One reason that people that I'm guessing, I've never really looked at the numbers, but I'm guessing people that used to listen to these sermons, a large portion of them probably don't listen to these sermons anymore. Because a large majority of these sermons, I talk about really simple things that you can do in your... come on, how much simpler can it be than carrying a voice recorder in your pocket? How much simpler can it be? But people don't like that. Those of you who regularly listen to these sermons will be surprised, because the fact that you're still on these sermons means you agree with this method, right? The philosophy makes sense to you, and you agree with this method. That's why you're still on these sermons. That's why you still write in and put your questions and ask for some clarifications where you need it. But also, I receive testimonials on a regular basis. Swaminas, I did this thing you asked us to do. I did that you asked us to do, and it's really giving me results. I've managed to become a cooler, calmer, a much more docile person. I'm a lot more relaxed. I'm a lot more at peace with myself. Like these testimonials, they come in regularly. But one thing I know for sure is there's probably a lot of people that who don't listen to these sermons anymore because these sermons are just far too simple. I'm talking about saying thank you to a taxi driver. I'm talking about worshipping your parents. Anyone can do that stuff. So it's below par. That's not the kind of thing that I want to be doing. People like exclusive stuff, right? Things that only they can do. Helps them stand out of the crowd. Most of the things that I say, doesn't matter what walk of life you're from, whether you're a man or woman, black or white, poor or rich, ugly or beautiful, does not matter. Whether you're educated or non-educated, does not matter. Whether you're rich or broke, does not matter. You can do virtually all of these things. As I said right at the start, these are the simple things. It seems simple, but these are the hard things. People think what looks hard, those are the simple things. Or what looks hard, they think that's the stuff that they ought to be doing. And actually, what they're doing are just the simple things. The guy has a PhD in the Tripitaka. He doesn't respect his parents. What's the point? What's the point? So all these things I'm saying, I want you to gauge yourself. Right? Here's the other thing, right? So when I'm talking in this kind of third person, right? I know people who do this, I know people who do that. Guys do this, some guys do that. I don't want you to be sitting, on your moral high horses, thinking, yeah, Swaminasa, sure. There must be people who are doing like that. Yeah, I also think so. I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about anybody else. I'm talking about you. I'm asking you, are you that person? This is not a quest for me to... I'm not trying to get you to agree with me. I'm trying to get you to change. Whether you agree with me or not. I want you to change. I don't want disciples. I want people who are willing to change. That's what I want to say. Bear in mind that I'm talking about you. I'm not talking about someone else. So don't take any of these sermons as Swaminatha is talking about the general population. I'm talking about you. I'm asking you, are you like this? Did you go last week for an extra teaspoonful of sugar? If you, at least by mistake, were served a cup of tea with no sugar, can you manage that? If you can't, what is your default response? Excuse me, I just need to go get another teaspoon of sugar. Is that your default response? Or is your default response, hang on, why can't I drink this? What happened last week? Now, once in a while, cook yourself some food without any condiments. See if you can manage that. I'm not saying start eating like that. That's not the point, right? I want you to test yourself. Make one of the dishes, one of the curries at least, right? No spices. No salt, no pepper. Bland. Can you manage that? Can you? Or will you struggle? Bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi? Sure? I can talk about plenty more habits, folks. Things that you really need to take time and go through your life with a fine-tooth comb. If you can practice mindfulness and total awareness, I tell you, it's a really good habit to get into. How many times last week did you bite your fingernails? Why? Where is your self-compassion? You just went with it, didn't you? You didn't stop to ask yourself, why am I doing this? Where was your awareness? Where's your mindfulness? But it's very innocent, Swamin Wahanse. Yes, maybe. All beings in all worlds, may they all attain supreme bliss of Nibbana. What about may I? As I said, if you are not self-compassionate, I find your association distasteful. Because you don't put in the time and effort to go through the laundry. You don't have compassion towards yourself, means you don't have compassion towards others. How many times last week did you find yourself shaking your legs? That people have that habit, don't they? The moment they sit down, legs start shaking. Or feet. Or they start cracking their knuckles. These are habits that people have. Some people dig their noses. No awareness, that's the problem. I'm saying, I'm not talking about good manners, bad manners, right? We should always be very aware of our manners and, maintain decorum. That is not where I'm going with this. Where I'm going with this is, you don't know you're shaking your legs. Don't you see there's a problem? You don't know you're biting your fingernails. Don't you see there's a problem? If not, why do you stop when I ask you to? When I point it out? Where's your awareness? Where's your compassion? Well, the moment some people will go for it nevertheless. Where's your compassion? You know that this is a defilement that you need to fight. Knowing it, you still go along with it. Have you just not surrendered at the foot of the enemy? How can I consider you to be my ally when you have parted with me and gone and joined the enemy? Can I still trust you? Think. Very simple, right? Yes. That's why some people don't like these sermons. They're too simple. What can I do? I'm a simple man. I don't do complicated. I don't do complicated. I like simple. There may be other places where they talk about the Dhamma in a lot more depth, maybe go into the scriptures and various practices and programs and various things. I'm saying don't discount something just because it makes sense to you. What I've seen people do with the Dhamma, and this is the worst thing you've got to be doing with the Dhamma, is when something makes sense, people lose interest in it. Can you see how silly that is? When something doesn't make sense, people find that very interesting. Don't you see what they're looking for is fodder for their vexation? Because they're waiting for the moment where their vexations can be relieved. You're not vexing right now because you can understand every word I say. So there's no vexation with these things. There's no curiosity that is left at the end of the sermon. Every word made sense. Every example made sense. Every activity I asked you to do made sense. Simple to do, man or woman, right? When he gives a discourse, sometimes using examples and similes and metaphors, at the end of that, every sutta I've seen, they go thanking the Buddha, Venerable Sir, thanks to you I have seen the light. I don't recall seeing any sutta where at the end of the sermon they go, Buddha, that's clear as mud. I didn't understand a word you just said. Can you try another sermon for me, please? Can you give me another sutta? I've never seen a single sutta like that. So what did the Buddha do? Teach people in language and terms that they understood, right? That is what they found interesting. Things they understood, they found interesting, not things they don't understand. I'm saying be careful with the Dhamma. Don't use the Dhamma to feed your curiosity, because that is very pleasurable. The Dhamma is to quench your curiosity. It's not to feed your curiosity. Curiosity is the problem. Don't ask questions of the Dhamma because once you get the answer, you feel good about the fact that now you know the answer to that question. That is the wrong reason to be asking that question. Ask a question so that When you have gotten the answer to that question, you realize that the curiosity you had was indeed a suffering, was indeed a vexation. One of the best questions, I'll even encourage you to go and ask any monk, anyone who teaches you the Dhamma. Swaminathan, please teach me how it is that I no longer need to ask you questions. So you don't need to go with a question sheet. Go with one question. Swaminathan, please teach me the Dhamma, so that I no longer come to you with questions. I no longer have a curiosity for it. That's why it makes little sense to go, taking books of the Tripitaka and underlining them, highlighting them, taking to the Swaminathan and saying, what does this part mean? What does that part mean? How does this part and that part connect? It makes little sense. From my perspective, that makes little sense, because that is just feeding your curiosity. The Dhamma is to quench your curiosity. Okay, so don't struggle let me put it this way. Don't major in the minor things. You got to major in the major things. What do I mean by that? Learning the Dhamma, becoming proficient and well versed in the Dhamma, knowing the A to Z of the Dhamma, knowing the scriptures inside out and upside front and backside up and top and down and left and right, knowing all that, that is not going to help you. That's all the minor stuff. Right? What portion of that is required? Let that come to you over time. But there's something you need really to focus on. That's the major stuff. Focus, as I said, on becoming a good husband. Focus on becoming a kind and gentle wife. Focus on becoming a good parent. Exemplary parents. Focus on becoming a good child. Focus on becoming gentle and kind-hearted. Focus on becoming more merciful. Focus on expounding your compassion. Expand it and expound it. Practice your compassion. Practice your metta. Take time to study yourself. Be more introspective and less extrospective. Examine yourself and ask tough questions of yourself, not from the monk. Ask from the monkey. Ask yourself some tough questions. Why did I go for that extra teaspoonful of sugar? You monkey, ask yourself that question. Why did I go for that extra scoop of ice cream? These are some tough questions. You You will need time to find answers to these questions. The theory will be easy, the practical is not so much. That's why I'm saying this is the major stuff. Don't minor in the major stuff, and don't major in the minor stuff. Ask yourself, why did you click on that link? Why did you click on that pop-up? Why did you go on that website? Why did you clear your browsing history? Why did you smell that book? Why did you smell your fresh laundry? Why did you smell those flowers just before you worship them, or just before you offered them at the feet of the Buddha? Why? Why did you watch that extra 15 minutes of TV when you didn't need it? Focus on yourself. This is the major stuff. These are the questions that are worth asking. Not how do the chittas go from 89 to 181. These are not the questions to be asking, folks. Even I don't ask that questions of my teacher. What's your problem? When we go to talk to our teachers at our monastery, we ask them for advice and guidance on fixing our flaws and our weaknesses and our faults. This is what we focus on at our monastery. We don't spend a great deal of time trying to dissect and analyze the Dhamma. We listen to the sermons preached by our teachers, and primarily Guru Swami Nuhanse. And then, using that Dhamma, we look into our own lives. We take ourselves to the laundry. We check ourselves every day. We closely examine our thoughts and our actions and our speech. We ask ourselves, why did I talk to him like that? Why did I frown at him? Why did I not smile at him when he smiled at me? Why did I look away? Why did I walk away when I saw him coming towards me? These are the questions we ask of ourselves. That is why we proudly say, Bhagavato tassa, savako hamasmi. I think that is what the Buddha would have expected of his disciples. So, are you a Shravaka? Or not? What makes you a Shravaka? What are your qualifications? Take some time and ask yourself. Chanting those stanzas every day, every week, that doesn't make you a Shravaka. Your pledge of allegiance must come with action. Words mean nothing. Action is everything. So, let's begin to change. I know a lot of you are like that, but let's change some more. Let's keep on changing. You will know when you have changed enough. Do you feel right now that you've changed enough? See, I told you, you'll know when you've changed enough. If your conscience keeps saying, no, I need to change some more, I still fail at these obstacles, well, then you know, you just need to keep on changing. Let's keep changing. Become a blessed one. Be a blessing on every living being. Be someone who is deserving of their blessings. That's how you can become a blessed one. And that is how you can become a disciple of the Blessed One. May you be able to achieve that very soon, if you haven't already. Okay, let us take a moment then today to transfer the merits. I do appreciate today was a meditation session, but after all, you have allowed me to guide these sessions as I see fit. So this is the meditation for this week. Right? I want you to go back the last week, find those instances where you failed to practice self-compassion. Revisit them and review them. How should you have addressed those instances? How might a Shravaka of the Bhagavata address those situations? What must you do when you are faced with those situations in future? Another week is upon us, so you have a whole new week to try out something new. Right? So the way you spent last week does not have to be how you spend next week. You can't change destination overnight, but you can change your direction instantaneously. That's all you got to do. Don't worry about the destination. Just work on your journey, because success is in the journey. I vouch for that, because I am reaping results of that. And as I said, if I can do it, you can do it too. Okay, let us take a moment then to transfer the merits we have all acquired by making offerings to the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, listening to the Dhamma and engaging in various meritorious deeds today. Let us begin first and foremost by reminding ourselves how incredibly fortunate we are to be in receipt of the Lord Buddha's teaching. With immense gratitude from the bottom of our hearts, let us transfer these merits to the Bhikkhu, Bhikkhunis, Upasakas and Upasikas, who since time immemorial have protected and preserved the sublime teachings of the Buddha and passed it down through the generations of the noble lineage, which is available today in the form of the Tripitaka, for us to study, understand and comprehend the Dhamma. Let us also transfer the merits we have acquired to all members of the Mahasangha present throughout the world, including the chief prelates of all the chapters who have dedicated their lives to the noble path and have committed themselves towards the betterment of all sentient beings, including you and I. Let us not forget that among them are the monks and nuns resident in your local temples and nunneries who have always been by your side through thick and thin, come rain or shine. Let us also transfer these merits to Guru Swamin Wahanse and all other monks resident at this monastery, as well as the Anagarikas and Anagarikas attached to the monastery. Let us also not forget to take a moment to transfer these merits and express our gratitude to those who have made great efforts to disseminate the teachings of the Buddha. May that be by transliterating these sermons, making them more publicly available for the benefit of others, sharing it with others and inviting others to join in and listen to the sermons. This includes all of you. May through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful plane, they redeem them. And may through the power of these merits they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also transfer the merits we have acquired to our devotees, the friends of the monastery, who for the sake of their merits continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes everyone, from those of you who have contributed to the construction of the monastery to those of you who continue to provide the Mahasangha with shelter, arms, robes and medicines, as well as those of you who have passed on their know-how and extend their well wishes. May through the power of these merits they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to our parents, spouses, siblings, children, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews, and various other relations, friends and acquaintances, employers and employees, and to all those who have helped us, supported us, assisted us, in any way, shape or form available to them. May through the power of these merits they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to the Devas, Brahmas, spirits and demons, primarily the Sakadeva, as well as the numerous gods and deities who are committed to protect and fulfill the Sambuddha Shasana. Let us also transfer merits to our guardian deities. They are those who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way. May through the power of these merits they prosper in divine power and wisdom. May through the power of these merits they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to our ancestors who have predeceased us, to all of those who have been our families, friends and acquaintances in this infinitely long journey in samsara, those who have helped us, supported us, assisted us in any way, shape or form they could. May they all rejoice in these merits. Let us also transfer merits to the members of the armed forces as well as the police force who have sacrificed their lives and continue to do so on various occasions to protect the peace and harmony of our nation. May all those who have lost their lives in the war, be they friend or foe, rejoice in these merits we have acquired today. Let us transfer these merits to all those who have lost their lives in natural calamities such as the tsunamis, earthquakes, landslides, pandemics, including the most recent one, reminding ourselves that among them will be those who have been friends and family to us in this long journey in samsara. Let us take a moment to transfer these merits to them. May through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in the woeful planes, they redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane. May they all abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, let us all resolve that may through the power of these merits and the power of these blessings we have acquired throughout the day, we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of Arahatun Vahanses on this blessed land in our very lives itself. And finally, may through the power of all the merits we have acquired today, you and I, and everyone who has helped make this event a success, however small or large, whichever form, whatever possibility and ability available to them, become an Arahatun Vahanse, an Arahat Mehenin Vahanse in this very life itself and in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you all.